achieving noble character and happiness in adversity. There's a Scandinavian saying that the north wind made the Vikings. It means that just like the harsh, bitterly cold north wind, overcoming tough environments and conditions fosters the growth of remarkable individuals. This saying offers great comfort as we navigate through life's adversities. Where did we learn that comfort and stability are prerequisites for happiness? Those who pity themselves even feel sorry for themselves when relaxing on a plush sofa. History has shown that those who fiercely fulfill their responsibilities under the worst conditions and environments are the ones who develop a noble character and find true happiness. What it means to achieve victory in life. A great Norwegian violinist, Ole Bull, experienced a string break during a concert in Paris. Unperturbed, Bull completed the performance with the remaining strings, captivating the audience. Theologian Henry Emerson Postic said, "Life is about playing with the remaining 3 strings when one breaks." Everyone's life has its deficiencies. Complaining and despairing change nothing. Using the resources at hand to carve out a path forward is the only way to break through and change. That's what life is. Leverage the experience of frustration. When Robert Hutchins, president of the University of Chicago, was asked about the secret to not being overwhelmed by worries, he replied, "When life throws you lemons, make lemonade." I always strive to follow this teaching. It means that paths open up when we seek positive change in any difficulty. This is the life philosophy of a great educator. Conversely, the foolish act in the opposite way. They give up immediately at the slightest trials and despair, wondering why they are so unlucky. In contrast, the wise maintain a positive attitude even in the face of great disappointment. They ask themselves what they can learn from this misfortune and consider how to turn the current adversity into an opportunity for success. Finding advantage in deprivation and loss. The important thing is not just to use the benefits at hand, as anyone can do that. What's truly important in life is to find advantages in deprivation and loss. This requires wisdom, and that's the crucial difference between the wise and the foolish. This is a quote from biographer William Bolitho, who said after he lost one leg in a train accident, "If I could, I would frame this quote and hang it in every school in the country." Focus on the task laid out before you. In the spring of 1871, a young medical student's life was transformed by a sentence he read in a book. It was a quote from Thomas Carlyle. "Our main business is not to see what lies dimly at a distance, but to do what lies clearly at hand." Facing final exams in medical school and uncertain about passing, what to do if he did pass, or whether he could open a practice, this young man found a catalyst in these words to live each day fully. He went on to become one of the greatest doctors of his time, founding the prestigious Johns Hopkins School of Medicine and later becoming a Regius Professor of Medicine at Oxford. This is the story of the great physician William Osler, who became free from worry and could live in the present. Block the past and future and focus on today. William Osler, who held professorships at 4 universities including Oxford, said this in a lecture with students at Yale. "Some may think I have an exceptional brain, but my friends know I have a very ordinary one." So what was the secret to his success? Months before speaking at Yale, Osler crossed the Atlantic on a large passenger ship with a system that could isolate parts of the ship with heavy iron doors at the press of a few simple buttons, turning them into watertight compartments. He used this experience to convey an important message to the students. You are a far more marvelous organism than any grand, intricately designed ship, and you are about to embark on a longer, more impressive voyage. Do not fret over yesterday's troubles or fear tomorrow's dangers. They can bring down even the strongest person. Just as the ship blocks unnecessary sections with iron doors to focus solely on the voyage, concentrate on the present moment, blocking the yet-to-come tomorrow to escape the anxiety of the future. Do not waste precious energy on yesterday and tomorrow. Live faithfully in today. However, this doesn't mean you shouldn't prepare for tomorrow. Focusing fully on today is the only way to prepare for tomorrow. Enjoy the fleeting moments of life. The most tragic aspect of human nature is our tendency to postpone life. We dream of a rose garden over the horizon while ignoring the red roses blooming outside our windows. Why are we so foolish? A child says, "When I grow up." A teenager says, "When I become an adult." An adult says, "When I get married." And a married person says, "When I retire." Then, upon retirement, they finally realize that most of life has passed them by. Life exists in each day, each moment. Now is the most precious time to enjoy. Unfortunately, we often learn this too late. Think only of the dishes you need to wash today. A few years ago, Reverend William Wood suffered from severe stomach pain so intense that it robbed him of sleep. Given the extreme pain and a family history of stomach cancer, he underwent thorough medical examinations, only to receive an unexpected diagnosis. The pain was psychosomatic. Reverend Wood had been shouldering a heavy load of church responsibilities, living under constant tension and worry. Despite following his doctor's advice to reduce his workload and stress, finding complete relaxation wasn't as easy as it sounded. Wondering why he couldn't let go of these unnecessary worries, Reverend Wood had an epiphany one day while watching his wife happily singing as she did the dishes. He realized that if she had thought about all the dishes she would need to wash over the next 18 years of marriage, she would have been overwhelmed and possibly succumbed to a nervous breakdown. Instead, she focused solely on the dishes of the day, making even a mundane task like dishwashing enjoyable. This realization made Reverend Wood see his own foolishness in worrying about yesterday's and tomorrow's dishes instead of just focusing on today's. From then on, He no longer suffered from stomach pain due to stress and worry. The heart is never satisfied if it thinks it lacks. Do not torment yourself with self-reproach and worry if you don't possess what you desire. Roman philosopher Seneca said, "As long as one thinks their possessions are insufficient, even owning the world will not satisfy the heart." Direct consciousness toward successful endeavors. If your mind is cluttered with worries and your heart is troubled, take a moment to pause and breathe. Ask yourself, what am I worrying about? Upon detailed reflection, you'll often find that the cause of your worry is more trivial than you first thought. About 90% of our life goes smoothly without major incidents, while only about 10% encounter problems. If you wish to be happy, focus your consciousness on the successful 90% and push out the troublesome 10% from your mind. And if you ever want to experience an ulcer from constant worry, then concentrate on the problematic 10% and ignore the successful 90%. Our life is shaped by our thoughts. This is a saying by poet and philosopher Ralph Waldo Emerson. There is nothing beyond our existence that we can become. One of the greatest lessons I've learned in life is that our thoughts and mindset determine the success or failure of our lives. Thoughts create life and shape destiny. Therefore, our greatest task is to engage in constructive thinking. If we can do this, we can find solutions to any problem we face. Marcus Aurelius, the great philosopher who ruled the Roman Empire, also said, "Our life is what our thoughts make it." Indeed, happy thoughts create a happy life. Unhappy thoughts lead to an unhappy life. Sick thoughts invite illness, and thoughts of failure lead to failure. If you wallow in self-pity, everyone will dislike you. Peace of mind comes solely from within. If there's one thing I'm sure of after nearly a half-century of life, it's that the only source of peace for a person is within themselves. This resonates with the words of the philosopher Emerson. External events like political victories, income increases, health recovery, or reunions with dear friends can uplift our spirits and raise expectations for continued happy days. However, we shouldn't rely on this. Life doesn't work that way. The only entity that can bring us peace is ourselves. Act cheerfully and your mood will brighten. It's often said that humans are more hurt by their thoughts about an event than the event itself. This is a guiding principle held by the great French philosopher Montaigne. How you accept and think about anything that happens is entirely up to you. Are we simply suggesting to those beset by various troubling issues to change your mind and think positively, as if it's easy? Some might think so. But yes, that's exactly the point. Even in the face of great trials, if you gather your will and make an effort, you can shake off the pain and find the strength to stand up. Harvard's renowned psychologist William James said that although actions seem to follow feelings, in reality, actions and feelings occur simultaneously. Therefore, by controlling your actions through will, you can indirectly control your feelings. Even if you're not in a cheerful state, Speaking and laughing as if you are can transform not just your actions, but also your emotional state into a cheerful one. Give it a try. Move your facial muscles to smile, stand tall, take a deep breath, and sing cheerfully. By acting happy and joyful, you might start to feel it too. This is one of the miracles of life. Life is too short to dwell on the trivial. The reason we easily get annoyed, angry, and worried over minor issues is that we overestimate the importance of these problems. Life is too short to dwell on the trivial, as said by the British politician Benjamin Disraeli. French writer André Maurois confessed that he overcame painful experiences thanks to this maxim. He explained that we often lose our minds to insignificant issues that we should forget. But let's think about it. We only live for a few decades. Why should we, or anyone, spend an entire day worrying, despairing, and complaining about something we'll forget in a year? Isn't it better to devote our precious time to noble beliefs, true love, and worthwhile activities? Life is indeed too short to be preoccupied with minor matters. Preparing for the worst leaves nothing to lose. Chinese writer and cultural critic Lin Yutang said, "True peace of mind begins by accepting the worst-case scenario. It symbolizes the release of energy. If you brace for and accept the worst-case scenario, you have nothing more to lose. In fact, it might even feel liberating. Realizing there's nothing more to lose means only gains remain. It's a simple principle. Yet, many people get bogged down by the event of failure, engulfed in anger and frustration, ruining their lives. The cause is their reluctance to face the worst-case scenario. By ignoring the problem, they fail to take action to improve it, sinking deeper into their painful experiences. Preventing fatigue also prevents worry and anxiety. The first rule for preventing worry, anxiety, and fatigue is simple. Rest often. It's more effective to rest before feeling fatigued. Why do we mention fatigue prevention while discussing worry prevention? Often, fatigue intensifies negative emotions and leads to worry. It's medically proven that fatigue weakens immunity, making us more susceptible to colds and other illnesses. From a psychiatric perspective, excessive tension and fatigue weaken our resistance to negative emotions like worry and anxiety. Edmund Jacobson, Ph.D., Director of the Clinical Psychology Research Institute at the University of Chicago and longtime researcher of relaxation therapy, stated that worry and anxiety cannot exist in a state of complete relaxation. Worry doesn't have to occupy your mind. Pastor Tom Miller of Hope Church reflected, "A few years ago, I discovered that depending on how I set my mind, I can eliminate worry and anxiety. I realized that worry is not external. It's within use. And I learned that time naturally resolves most worries. Often, we can't even recall what we were worried about a week ago. Therefore, I try not to think seriously about any new worries for at least a week. While it's hard to forget problems entirely, I strive to not let them take over my mind. The result has been astonishing. About 90% of issues resolve themselves naturally within a week, or I find they're not worth the worry due to a change in my mindset. Success does not come automatically. Benjamin Franklin, one of America's most versatile and wise figures, dedicated time every night to serious and thorough reflection. He identified 13 major flaws in himself, including wasting time, worrying over trivial matters, and arguing and contradicting others' opinions. Franklin realized he couldn't achieve great success without overcoming these flaws. He devoted each week to tackling one flaw, fighting against himself, and meticulously recording the results. He persisted in this challenging and intense struggle for over 2 years. Franklin's eventual status as one of the most influential and beloved figures in American history was not an accident. Nobody kicks a dead dog. A 1929 incident shook the American education world when a young man named Robert Hutchins became president of the University of Chicago. He had worked as a waiter, lumberjack, tutor, and salesperson to pay for Yale, and just 8 years after graduation, at the age of 30, he became president of the University of Chicago. Most education officials, older than Hutchins, criticized him as too young and inexperienced. The press also launched a full offensive. On the day of his inauguration, someone mentioned to Hutchins' father that the morning paper's editorial had harshly criticized his son. Calmly, his father replied, "The criticism was indeed excessive. But remember, nobody kicks a dead dog. No one attacks a person of no consequence. People derive satisfaction from attacking those who stand out."